Well, it's funny because actually, when I was younger, the first thing I wanted to be was a marine biologist. Because I was always into like marine life and sharks and stuff like that. But I realized after a while that one, I'm pretty terrible when it comes to science, and two, I don't swim that well. So it kind of like I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work out so well. So, but at the same time, I was always drawing. I was always one of those kids who was like, I was one of the better kids in my class at drawing and stuff like that. But it was always just like for fun, I'd be sitting in class, you know, drawing naked girls on tables and stuff like that. Nothing too that serious. Um, and even when I was looking at colleges, I didn't want to go to art school at first. I wanted to like go to a regular college where I could go, you know, party and maybe join a fraternity. Or I don't even know what I was thinking back then. Just I didn't think art at all until one of my art teachers, a lady by the name of Mrs. Sens, she was kind of like, you should really think about going to art school. You're pretty good at it, and you could probably do this for a living. And that's when I was like, let me think about this. And at the same time, I met a good friend of mine on a college tour by the name of Wes Gunn, and we were both into comics, and we both together were kind of like, yo, why don't we try to like just go to art school together? I mean, it might be kind of interesting. So that's when I was like, all right, maybe I can try to make this happen. And I kind of just once I got to art school, once I started looking at art schools, that's when I was like, okay, I feel like this is maybe what I was meant to do, because it was the first time that I felt, I don't know, kind of comfortable in my surroundings. Like I wouldn't say I was a nerd back in school, but I was definitely not comfortable. Like I didn't like all the people that I was around, and I just didn't. It wasn't for me. But then I got to art school and I saw these other creative minds around me, and I was like, this is where I need to be, and I felt comfortable for the first time. It was pretty interesting. I mean, I always knew I was going to college. I mean, that was always drilled into my head from day one. So it wasn't even like there was no idea of not doing anything else. But I thought that was the next thing you had to do. But going to college was great. I mean, like I said, it was like just being around that creative environment was so helpful for me. Like I'd never known anyone besides Wes who could even draw. So being around people who were like all of a sudden like, oh wait, people are actually better than me. I'm like, I gotta work hard at this, because there's people out here who are like really, really good, and I'm from Boston, and I'm like, I'm in New York all of a sudden, and I'm like, I can't go back home, so I've gotta work hard. That was the first time I feel like I've ever really worked hard at anything in my life. Up to that point, I was just like, I wasn't a bad student, but I wasn't a great student either. Like I wasn't that great at anything. But art school was all of a sudden like, wow, this is like, I gotta hustle, and that kind of instilled this like drive in me to like really, really do this. Like if I'm gonna do it, I have to do it all the way. I can't slack at it, and I think it's been good for me because I've kind of become a hustler ever since. Like I really want to make this thing happen, and I'm like, I'm not taking no for an answer. So it was big. And then plus, just you make so many friends and contacts in art school, where these people that I've known to this day who I rely on for questions or advice, or just even teachers. My first teacher got me one of my first jobs. I mean, in my portfolio class, an art director came in. He looked through my sketchbook and was like, hey, you want to work for me? And that was the first art job I'd ever gotten. So just everything about being in that environment. I mean, there's pluses and minuses, of course, to art school. Like, still in debt. And, I can't say every class was for me, but the teachers that made a difference really made a difference.